Shalom. This is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. So it's Tisha B'Av, and Baruch Hashem, right now, Iran has not launched all-out war on Israel. I did see very recently Hamas tried to launch two rockets at Tel Aviv. One fell in the Mediterranean Sea, and one just fell right in Gaza. So Baruch Hashem, right now, no major war. And it's all strange. I mean, Iran started all this on Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres, on Shabbos is the day. It's one of the happiest days of the year. It's one of the holiest days of the year. It's a day that nothing bad should have happened to us. And we had this horrible massacre, this tragedy on October 7th. And it's the essence. What we're going to look in today is the mystical meaning of the word Eicha and the mystical meaning of Tisha B'Av. And Eicha, put it simply, we'll look a little deeper soon, but it has two meanings. It's like the question when we ask, where are you, God? Where are you, Hashem? And then we ask, like, Hashem, how is this happening? And it's interesting because today's the day of Eicha. Today's the day we read the Megillah. Well, last night we read the Megillah Eicha. And it's written by Yirmiyahu Hanavi, Jeremiah the prophet. And it's a lamentation, a funeral dirge. I don't know the great word, a kinos of, he witnessed the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, the first temple that was built by Shlomo HaMelech, was built by King Solomon, and was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, the first king of Babylon. And we had a taste for the first time in the modern world, I mean, the 21st century. I mean, we saw the horrible destruction in the 20th century of the Holocaust, which I think is seared into, most Jewish people's soul. But we saw something in the 21st century we weren't expecting. And it was a horrible attack. And so what's the secret of Tisha B'Av? How is this day the darkest, most tragic day in Jewish history, where both our temples were destroyed, and there was horrible tragedies all throughout history? I mean, horrible things happening during the Crusades and Inquisition, just different periods of, I think we may have even been kicked out of Spain in 1492 on Tisha B'Av. And this whole period is called the 3 weeks from the 17th of Tammuz until Tisha B'Av. And we're going to see that also, even though it's a day of great darkness and destruction and death, it's a day of hope. It's a day of great light and expectation. And and we have a tradition that the Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. We're going to talk about what that means. So how is it that going to be a day that's so sour and so sweet at the same time? How the beginning of it is the beginning of is the end of the 3 weeks, and it's just this dark day of mourning, and then it turns into a day of hope and expectation, looking for Mashiach and heading to Tu B'Av, Jewish Love Day. Okay, so let's take a look. Like, what does this word Eicha mean? And we're going to see where we see it in the Torah. So it's interesting. So the first place is right at the beginning, right in Sefer Bereshis, right in the book of Genesis. So it's only the third parak, the third chapter, and it's after Adam and Chava. It's after Adam and Eve eat from the Eitz Das Tovara, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it's like it says, like, their eyes are open and they saw that they were rumim, they were now naked. And what does it mean? And originally, we learned that through the Kabbalah and other mystical, teachings of the soul level, the secret level of the Torah, that they originally had a katanos or with an aleph. Their souls were on the outside of their bodies, and they were shining with this like divine light. They were like malachim. They were even higher than malachim, because we're created in the Tselem Elokim, the image of Hashem. It's a deep mystical concept. We're not going to go into it fully today, but they now, after they ate from the tree of knowledge, now the body was on the outside, and the neshama and the soul's in the inside. So now the soul's hidden, and now they got the katanos or with an ayin. And it's interesting. The aleph, the gematria is one. So when we have the soul on the outside and we're shining like malachim and divine beings, we're attached to the one. We're attached to Hashem. And it's interesting. And then when mankind went into this other direction, and now the body's on the outside, the gematria of the ayin is 70, and now it's the 70 nations. And when we're attached to the 70 nations, we're attached to all the goings on in the world, and now we're rooted in the physical world. We're not attached as closely to Hashem anymore. And that's kind of a lot what Tisha B'Av's about. So after that, they're in this new state of existence, and Hashem, they hear it. It's very interesting. They hear a sound of Hashem walking in the garden. What's the sound of an infinite being? It's a very deep topic right there. That would be an interesting video to look into. And Hashem teaches us a great lesson here. And he says, "Vayikra Hashem Elokim El Hadam." And these are both aspects of Hashem, and this is the important thing, that when Hashem, this infinite being, the Ein Sof, the infinite one, when he acts towards mankind in a loving, compassionate, and kind manner, it's the aspect of Hashem. And when Chas v'Shalom, we saw on October the 7th, or during the Holocaust, or during the destruction of the temples, when Hashem acts in the aspect of din, of justice, of judgment, harshness, he acts in the aspect of Elokim. And one of the most important concepts of the Torah is that Hashem hu Elokim, ein od milvado, that even if he acts with us with loving kindness, and even if he acts like this, the horrors of October 7th for the Holocaust, he's still Hashem. He still loves us. And even though we can't understand the great tragedy and destruction and death before us, it's all leading back to the Eitz Chaim. It's all leading back to the tree of life. It's all to change this world into Olam Haba. So Hashem's now approaching Adam in both aspects, a full, complete revelation of himself to Adam. And this is Adam's, and it says that Adam and Chava, they were hiding in the cave, they were embarrassed. I mean, think about it. Like they had the first mitzvah given to mankind, don't eat from this tree, and they do. And they were so embarrassed. And that's the tragedy of Avera. It distances us from Hashem. We feel cut off and distanced from Hashem. And he was embarrassed, but Hashem lets Adam know that he's coming. And then Vayomer Lo, and then we see the first Eka, and he says Ayeka. And Hashem says to him, "Where are you? Why are you hiding from me? Why do you not understand anymore that I'm everywhere? I fill the universe. I create the universe." Hashem saying, "I fill the universe. I'm always with you." And Hashem speaking very gently in Adam's most embarrassed moment. I mean, he's sent mankind on a different path, a path now where, I mean, everything could have been done. If he just spent that one Shabbos and didn't eat from the Eitz Das and only ate from the Eitz Chaim, only ate from the Torah, only saw the world through the lens of the Torah. And Rabbi Dessler, he says in Miksav Eliyahu and Strive for Truth, he says that the perception of the world before eating from the tree of knowledge is that Adam, he saw the world only as emes and sheker, only as truth and lies. He had a clear perception of the world. But now we have this mixture of good and evil. And a lot of times it's hard to tell sometimes who's good and who's evil. And we live in a very mixed up time where people, unfortunately, a lot of what's really evil, people call good. And unfortunately, even more tragic, what's good, people call evil. And this is the Ayeka. And where are you? And when we call out and we don't know where Hashem is, when we have this false perception of the world, the world is being taught this atheist fantasy that Hashem doesn't exist, Chas v'Shalom, he doesn't fill the world, that he didn't create and is not giving life to every person in the world and doesn't have love and compassion for everyone in the world. It's this state of Ayeka where we actually, where are you? How can this happen? Hashem, how could October the 7th happen? And it's that pain. And it's that lack of understanding. But even the depth of the tragedy, even for the Jews that saw the evil of the Nazis, Yamak Shemam, they saw Amalek's rise to power for 12 years. But even there's a beautiful book called Vanquish the Dragon. It's written by it's a story about these Beis Yaakov girls. And they were, I think, the original class of Beis Yaakov girls in Europe, Sarah Schneier's students. And it talks about their experience in the Holocaust. And it's like nothing I've ever read before because they weren't just surviving. They were doing mitzvos in the camps. They were doing chesed, kindness. They were being moser nefesh for each other. One girl was really sick, and one girl gave up her place, so the other girl could be, to be taken care of, or giving her food, or it was just like they went through such effort just to make a Hanukkah menorah in the camps. And it shows you it's a different story. This wasn't a story just about surviving evil. This was a story about staring evil down and defeating it and doing kindness in the face of evil. I really recommend it if people want to read a really good book. So then, so was this was the state in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, where mankind had a clear recognition of Hashem than we've had for all of history. And unfortunately, like this was right the first big Avera and the first Ayeka. Now then, in the book of Devarim, we just had it last week's Parsha, Shabbos Chazon. We had the Shabbos of Vision, and we read the Parsha Devarim, and it's in the book of Deuteronomy. And it's chapter 1, verse 12, and this is the second Eicha, and this is kind of like the golden age of the Jewish people until the coming Mashiach. This is our greatest age. This was our greatest generation, the Dor Deah, the generation of knowledge. They were taken out by Hashem from Egypt. They were saved with 10 miraculous plagues where Hashem just ripped apart the Teva, the natural world, did supernatural miracles, ripping them out, saving them from Egypt, saving us from Egypt. And then the crossing, the Kriyas Yamsuf, the crossing of the Red Sea. And it says when we read on Pesach, on Passover in the Haggadah, that Hashem did more miracles for us at the Kriyas Yamsuf, at the splitting of the Red Sea. We saw more miracles than we even saw in Egypt. And then the miraculous 40 years in the desert, the miraculous day we celebrate on Shavuos, where we stood at Har Sinai. We stood at Mount Sinai and we heard this infinite being speak to us as a nation. It's an event that's never happened again in history. And even those that claim they've written a new Torah and God, they claim that Hashem's their God now and he's rejected us. They can't point to an event like this. Hashem's never revealed himself to them. Hashem's never put his Shekhinah anywhere but the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash, anywhere but the temple in Jerusalem and the Mishkan in the desert and the Mishkan in Eretz Yisrael. The Shekhinah of Hashem has never been wrapped in a pillar of cloud by day, never been wrapped in a pillar of fire by night. The Shekhinah has never been seen in Vatican City in Rome. The Shekhinah has never been seen on that lifeless stone they worship in Mecca. It's never been seen. So you claim that Hashem's rejected us. We don't see that Hashem has brought you in. This is our day of destruction. We've never seen that you're Hashem's people. But in our golden age where we had Moshe Rabbeinu, we had Moses, and we had the greatest of all the prophets, Moshe cried out and he said, Eicha, how? Esa levadi, how can I alone? And there's a little clue there because we're never levadi. We're never alone because Hashem is ein od milvado. We're never alone. But Moshe cries out, he feels so alone in this moment. He says, how can I bear your tar chachem, your trouble? And it's such a sad Rashi. It says when a Jew was going against another Jew in Beis Din, if they saw they were going to lose the case, and say, no, I need more witnesses. I will bring in more witnesses. I will bring in more evidence. I get more judges. Have we ever heard that recently in American history? where one political party thinks, that they don't have, they don't have control. They don't have political control over the Supreme Court. So got to add judges. Tarchachem, trouble. And it's like, because they didn't care about the MS, they didn't care about the truth. What if they really wronged this other person? They only cared about winning the case. And Moshe said, hey, I can't bear it anymore. I can't bear the Tarchachem. I can't bear the Masa'achem, the burden of trying to uplift this people. And I can't bear the Riv Chem. And this is one of the main problems, the fighting. I mean, we're fighting over what? We're fighting over Trump or Biden? You want to be really honest? They're both Meshuggahs. Neither one of them are going to save us. Neither one of them is Mashiach, or Harris now. Sorry, they just, and maybe they'll bump her out too. Who knows? They're ridiculous. Wake up already. Biden gave $100 billion to fund Iran, which funded the murder of Jews. Wake up. Turn off MSNBC or whatever, CNN, and so too of Fox News. Trump, I mean, okay, I'll give him Karsa Tov. He did nice things. He moved the town. He moved not the temple. He moved the embassy. Good. Recognized the Golan Heights. Good. I mean, his daughter is a Gioris. That's interesting, right? He's done some good things, but he's not going to save us. And I'm sorry, it's just getting old. If I were president, Hamas never would have invaded. Iran never would have started. Well, Iran started. It's already started. So what are you going to do now? I'm sick of hearing what you would have done or what would have happened. What are you going to do now? Because we need Mashiach. We need a king. But Hashem's sick of the fighting over what? Nonsense over politics. We're arguing over which leader in exile is going to lead us. If we want to be really, really honest today, they're all Meshuggahs. Or if you don't believe me, buy a Trump steak. I'm sure they're delicious. But they're all Meshuggahs. And it's the fighting. It's the sinas chinam. It's Jews hating each other for no reason. For no reason. And that's what destroyed the second temple. That's what General Titus at the time, son of Emperor Vespasian. And that's how he lost the second temple on Tisha B'Av, because the Lashon Hara, speaking badly about each other, the fighting. When? Eicha, when? How can we bear much more of this? And then on Shabbos Chazon, in Yeshaya, in Isaiah, on the Kav Torah, he cries out, and this may have been the saddest one of them all. And he cries, Eicha. And he's like, how? Eicha Chaisel Izona Kirya Ne'amana. And this is the saddest maybe of them all. The city of Amunah, the city of belief, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, the city that's the center of the world. The only city in the world where Hashem has chosen to permanently put his Shekhinah, his physical presence in the world, on top of the Aron HaKodesh, on top of the Ark of the Covenant, in the Kodesh Kadoshim, in the Holy of the Holies, the only place in the world where Hashem is permanently resting his Shekhinah. The only place in the world where Hashem says, this is where I will build my house. And Bezrat Hashem, we are going to see the rebuilding of the third base of Mikdash, and not the entire UN, not every nuclear warhead, not every fighter jet, not every aircraft carrier, not every nuclear submarine, not every bioweapon that these Meshuggahs create in their labs. Nothing they can do will stop Hashem, will stop this infinite being from rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash again permanently when we want it. It's the Kirya Ne'amana. It's when we want it. When the Jewish people desire it, then it happens instantly. But now it's Haisel Azona. Now we have chased after every other ideology, every ism, and we'll just go down a little bit of the list. Capitalism, communism, socialism, all the isms, and I hate to say it, and you got to wake up, but even Zionism. It's not the Torah. It's not the Bat Sion that the Torah is talking about. Sion. Sion is Yerushalayim. Sion is the Har Habayis. Sion is when we're living with Hashem, not this secular government, not this Zona, behavior, this secular government in the holiest land in the world. They want to take Hashem out of it. Well, Baruch Hashem, we saw Defense Minister Gallant. Maybe they got so scared that he was davening at the Koso yesterday. Baruch Hashem, good for him. Good for him. B'ezrat Hashem, we should see all the Israeli politicians daven to Hashem. I mean, we even saw Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, put on tefillin a few months ago. They're getting desperate. I mean, maybe we're close. I don't know. Maybe we'll all do the teshuva. It'll be nice. But now the Kirya Ne'amana Meleasi Mishpat Tzedek. The city that was filled, the faithful city, Jerusalem that was filled with mishpat, with justice and tzedek. And what does that mean, justice and righteousness? What does it mean? It means David HaMelech, King David, when he ruled on a case, if the poor man by the halakha, by the laws of the Torah, if the poor man owed the billionaire money, David ruled to give he ruled the case for the rich man. But now this poor man that's in debt, the poor man that cries every night, every day, because he can't put food on the table for his family, and now he has to pay this billionaire that doesn't need another shekel. And then tzedek. David did the mishpat. If this is what the Torah said, if this was the way the case is, if the poor man broke something that belonged, in the mansion estate of the rich man, the poor man, he's chayav to pay for it. But David gave him the tzedek. He gave him the tzedakah. David gave him the money to pay. That's the example of mishpat and tzedek. So the Yalin Ba, tzedek and mishpat, they would live there. They live overnight in Jerusalem. V'yata miratzkim, but now murderers. Fighting with each other, yelling at each other over secular politics, over nothing. Eicha, when? When will it be over? When will we wake up? When will we return? And then we get to our Eicha now. The Eicha, the beginning of the Megillus Eicha, the beginning of Eicha, the Lamentations we read on the night of Tisha B'Av, and all the keynotes, all the Lamentations, all the mourning we're doing on Tisha B'Av. Eicha Yashva Vadan Ayirabasi Am Haisa Kiamana Rabasi Vagoyim Sarasi Bamedinos Aisalamas Eicha. How is it possible? How is it possible we're alone? We've made such an impact on the world the Jewish people have made such an impact on the world for all of history, and we're such a small people. We've never been over 15 million people. We're 1,000 years older than China. China's over 1 billion people. We should have billions of Jews. But we're alone. We're alone. And I'll tell you, it's like the sympathies running out from the Holocaust. And the anti-Semites are getting louder and louder. And Persia, they think it's time. They think it's time that they can wipe Israel off the map. And we're alone. We're the city that's alone. How are they not streaming to us for our wisdom of the Torah? They think they've created their own Torahs and they don't need us. The great city, Jerusalem, the city where the 2 temples once stood, and B'ezrat Hashem will stand again, the 3rd temple, where all the world rushed to see the beauty of Arizona. And it's not, and it's still a desert. Good, they planted some trees. It is nothing. It is nothing like it's going to be. It's going to be the most fertile, beautiful land in all the world again. I mean, I used to live in California, the beauty. And one time I was driving, when I got back from Israel for the first time, I was driving up the PCH, the Pacific Coast Highway, and just the beauty of Malibu. You see the Baruch of Hashem in Malibu. And one day, Eretz Yisrael, the prophecy of Yechezkel, that there's going to be 2 rivers that come up from the great spring that's underneath the Temple Mount, and one river is going to wash out the Dead Sea. and it's going to make it clear drinking water again. And it's going to become not a desert anymore, not cursed, not salty. It's going to become a beautiful garden again. It used to be, it was called the Gan, I think, Hashem, in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah before their wickedness destroyed it. And another river is going to wash into the Mediterranean. And I have to look into it more, but it may be something miraculous. Like it may even clear out most of the salt in the oceans. Could you imagine all the water in the world drinking water? No one will ever be thirsty again. No one will be thirsty for knowledge or wisdom anymore because the words of the Torah will spread throughout the world. But that was Ha'ir Abasi. That was the great city. But now we're like a Almana. Now we're like a woman and our husbands died. And Echa, and we cry out, where's Hashem? Where's our husband? Where's our father? And the other nations, they taunt us and they claim that Hashem's picked them. Oh, yeah. And we sit like an Almana. Rabasiva Goyim. We were great among the nations. And we're becoming the talk of the town again, but you haven't seen nothing yet. When we see Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, when they built back up Yerushalayim, when they build up Jerusalem and Eretz Yisrael, the people of the world will stream. Where do they go now? They go to Paris, for the Olympics. They go to Acapulco. I don't know, all the St. Moritz in Switzerland, all the places, right? All the fancy places. I know, Ibiza, however they say it. All the fancy places, but it's going to be the most beautiful place in the world again. And we are royalty among the nations. Sarasi b'meninos. We are the princes among the countries, but now, Haisla. But now we're ruled over by the foreign powers. Even a weak, stumbling, kid-sniffing, disgusting man who falls, who can't even keep himself upright. And he demands what Israel does as they're in the midst with this war. And he's funded Hamas and Hezbollah through Iran. He's funded Iran, and that funds the Houthis, and it funds Kitab al-Hezbollah in Iraq. And they all shoot on Americans. They've killed Americans. And even Edom. Where's Edom? Where's the strength of our brother Esav? I think, unfortunately, we're going to see the revitalization of America, and maybe it'll be for the good. Hopefully it'll be for the good, but who knows what's happening here anymore. But now we pay our taxes to the IRS. We pay our taxes to the Zionists. We pay our taxes to everyone that rules over us. And Bezrat Hashem, we will see the Jews rule again. So that's the sad, that's the darkness. So where's the light? Where's the hope? So we're not at Chetzos yet. That's why I'm still on the floor. But we're heading there. We're heading there. So where does it come from? Where's the idea that Mashiach's born on Tisha B'Av? Where do we get this idea from? Let's take a look. So it's in Eicha Rabbah. It's the Midrash on Eicha, 151, I believe, if you want to look it up. I haven't really checked yet, but so the following story supports what Rebbe Yudan said in the name of Rebbe Ivu. A man, notice how it says a man, it's interesting, just a man, we don't know who it is yet. A man was plowing his field, and his ox, his shore load, I don't know what sound oxes make. And then an Arab passed by. It's very interesting, because the Yishmaelim, they delivered us a big message on October the 7th. And it's interesting that here in the Midrash, it's an Arab that's going to deliver this message. It's a descendant of Yishmael, child of Yishmael. And an Arab man passes by and he asks, he says, "What are you?" Ma'ata, Eicha. Who are you? Ayeka, what are you? Who are you? And he answered and he says, Ani Yehudi. He said, I'm a Jew. And the Arab man says to him, he says, untie your ox and unharness your plow as a sign of mourning. Why? Why, he asked. Because the temple of the Jews is destroyed, said the Arab. Think about how powerful this is. there was a Jewish man working on the field, and it was Tisha B'Av, and the temple's destroyed. And this Arab man couldn't even recognize that this man was a Jew. And think of how sad it is. I didn't grow up religious. I went to modern Orthodox day school for kindergarten, third, fourth, and fifth. But the rest of the time I was in public school. And when I went to university, even though we call it college here in America, which is really weird, like it's supposed to be the 2-year program as college and the 4 years university. University has colleges, but hey, that's the education system for you. But we call it college here in America. Um, but he didn't even know this was a Jew, and it's sad. And how many of us are like this, where we don't have a kippah, we don't have tzitzit on, we don't know so much Torah. We're at the ball games. Sorry, just like it's really starting to get uncomfortable sitting on the floor. We go to the ball games like everyone else. We go to the pop concerts, rock concerts. We go and we eat at the same restaurant sometimes, not even eating kosher food. And isn't this what the Arabs saw on October the 7th? If we want to really be honest, they saw a bunch of people dancing. And are you Jewish? I know it's not a nice question. And it's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking there's still over 100 Jewish hostages in Gaza. And we've been fighting for 9 to 10 months already. And it's Tisha B'Av. I saw this heartbreaking article in the Israeli news that they're not going to rescue the hostages anymore. They said we can't rescue the hostages. They're all in tunnels and civilians' homes. Well, haven't you known that from day one? It's really bothered me. It's really bothered me why the whole Jewish army, the whole IDF, didn't storm into Gaza on day one and get everyone back. Now, it's a gezerah from Hashem, and it's horrible. And Bezrat Hashem, we got to see the little Bibas family, the whole family come back alive, all the rest of the hostages. And it's been such an amazing thing. The days where we got to see some of the hostages come back. It's been amazing. The simcha to see them rescued, but it's been too long. What is going on? Do you care about the Jewish people? You have complete military supremacy. What are you waiting for? Why are these people still held hostage in Gaza? But the Arab man, he says, unharness your plow. It's a sign of mourning. So why, the man asked? Because the temple of the Jews is destroyed. And then the man asked, he says, where do you know that? Asked the Jew. I know it because your ox lowed, said the Arab. And while they were talking, the ox lowed again. And then he says, harness your ox and tie up the plow again. Because the Mashiach, the deliverer, the Mashiach, the anointed one, the king of the Jewish people has been born, said the Arab. What is his name? Asked the Jew. Menachem. He's going to have this quality of being a comforter, answered the Arab. And then Rebbe Avun, he says, why do I need to be taught this from an Arab man? I have 2 pasukim right in the Torah. Because it says, Vaha Levanon be'adir yipol. And the mighty, the Lebanon trees, they will fall in their majesty. They will fall to the mighty one. Because inside the base of Mikdash, inside the temple, was the cedar panels and the great Lebanon trees. And we fell to the Nebuchadnezzar. And we fell to the Romans. And we fell to Titus. But then, Vayatza choter migeza yishai. But then a shoot is going to grow out of the stump of Yishai. And who was Yishai? The Gemara says Yishai was one of the 4 men that never did an Avera, never sinned in their life. Incredible. And I believe he had 7 sons, maybe. Some people are obsessed with that whole 7th son and the 7th son thing. I think it was his seventh son, and he became very famous. And he was a simple shepherd boy named David. And he became David HaMelech. He became King David. V'nutzer misharashav yifreh. And then a twig will sprout from his stock. And who's that twig? That twig's Mashiach ben David. And then what's going to happen? V'nach alav ruach Hashem. And Hashem's going to place on Mashiach, on the king of Israel, he's going to place on him a ruach, a spirit of Hashem. A ruach hakma. He's going to pour a spirit of wisdom, great wisdom he's going to pour into him. Uvina, and understanding. V'ruach eitzah, and he's going to be a great advisor. He's going to have the ruach, the spirit of great advice and counsel. Ugavura, and strength. V'ruach das. And he's going to have the spirit of knowledge. V'yiras Hashem. And most importantly, he's going to have a fear of Hashem, a fear to disobey Hashem's word, fear to do an avera. V'haricho b'yiras Hashem. And he's going to sense, he's going to smell yiras Hashem on people, or lack of it. V'lo l'marah einav, not by the vision of his eyes, not through his physical senses, or his physical sense of vision, yishpot. He's not going to judge by the outer appearance, the chitzonius. He's going to see the inside, the panemius, the truth, the great truth inside all people. V'lo l'mishma aznav yochia. And he's not deciding, he doesn't know, he's not bringing proof from what his ears hear. He's going to sense the deep inner truth of people. V'shafat b'tzedek dalim. And he's going to judge the poor with tzedek, like we talked about before, with tzedakah, with great charity. V'chochia b'mishor. For the lonely of the land, he's going to decide. Le'anve aretz, for the lowly of the land. V'haka eretz b'shevet piv. He is going to strike the land with the scepter of his mouth. Just by speaking, he's going to be able to defeat the evil in the world. Uvruach sifasav yamis rasha. And he'll be able to kill the wicked just by the breath of his lips. So it begins. We're going to get off the floor here in Baltimore in a couple hours. It'll be chatzos. I have to check. Hopefully Israel's not in the midst of a terrifying war yet. Great light's going to come out of this darkness. Because when we wake up, when we do teshuvah, when we want Hashem back, when we want to be, that remarriage, either getting remarried or the new marriage, or whatever it is. And the pain of divorce and the pain of separation and the pain of all the suffering and the illness and the death and all, and seeing the Rishayim rule, seeing the evil rule in this world. Enough of it. We want to see tzedek and mishpat. We want to see the tzaddikim rule. We want to see the good, the kind, the holy. We want to see them on top. And Mashiach's going to lead us there. He's going to lead us to the world that the Nevi'im spoke about, the world of peace, the world where even like the predatory animals, like the lion, will lay down with the sheep, or whatever the pasuk is. We're going to see greatness, and we're going to see Eretz Yisrael become the garden again. Because where's Gan Eden? Where's the Garden of Eden? It's in Jerusalem. Jerusalem's the Garden of Eden. And we're going to see it come back into earth again from its spiritual realms. And we're going to see the base of Mikdash, Shalmaila, the temple above, and the spiritual worlds come back down here on earth. And we're going to see this world, Olam Hazeh, we're going to see it change into Yemot Mashiach. We're going to see it change into the days of Mashiach, days of Messiah. And then Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David are going to begin to help us transform this world into Olam Haba. And finally see the Tikkun HaOlam b'Malchus Shaddai. Hi, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.